So I'm going to put that floppy bunny head together, and in order to do that, I have the head side front, 2 pieces. I cut them out right sides together, and then I have 1 piece for the center head front, and then I have 1 piece for the head back, and I have 2 pieces for the head side back, and again they're cut opposite each other. These ones happen to be wrong sides together. It doesn't matter whether it's wrong sides or right sides. You just don't want them both on the same side. And you can see that it matches up so that the neck is at the bottom, and you've got these 3 dots that match those 3 dots. So this seam is going to go together perfectly, and then the other piece is going to go together on the other side perfectly like that. And then when you're looking at the head, front of the head, I actually sewed a piece of fabric on here and then bent it down for the nose so that I have a different looking nose on the tip and I don't have to embroider it. And then we have markings A and B at the nose, and then you have markings for the ear. Your head side front has A and B, and that matches up with the nose A and B. And then it has ear markings that also match up. So when you're sewing this one, you're going to sew from A to B and then continue on to the beginning of the ear, and then you'll tack back a little bit, and then you're going to finish the seam up by starting again and back tacking a couple times across that little space. And that leaves an opening for your ear to get slipped in there. And you're going to do that on both sides. You're going to put this one right side together, and you're going to go from A to B up to the ear mark and then at the top. And then you're going to take the other one and you're going to do the same thing. Right sides together, A to B, up to the ear mark, and then a little bit at the top. So I'm going to put those together. And my ears, I've already put my ears together. They're just long, flat pieces. I inserted a potato chip bag to make them a little crinkly. So my ears are done and ready to go. So I'm going to start with the front of the head. So I know that this is my A and B. And I also know that on the head front, center front, that's my A and B. So I'm going to take this piece, and I'm going to match it right sides together with this piece right sides together. And I'm going to line up that straight line, A and B together, and I'm going to put a little pin in there. And then it's going to turn, and I'm going to sew it as it turns until it gets to the end. So I'm going to put a pin in there. So when I'm on my machine, I'll start from A to B and around. Now the other piece, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to start from A to B and then around. And I want to leave an opening for those ears. So I'm going to turn this on this side. I'm going to sew it from this side because I want to be on that side of the fabric. So I'm going to mark my ear openings. And I'm going to do it against this piece. And I'm not going to sew between the 2 ear openings. Same thing with the other side. So I have my marking for the ear opening. So now it's just time to sew. So I'm going to start from the A. I'll put my needle in. If you feel more comfortable marking those A's and B's with a marker or a pencil or something, you can do that. It's just a stuffed animal. I'm not too concerned about it being so precise. I just know that I want to turn when I get to the end of that flat spot. And then I want to ease it all in up until I get to the marking for the pin. And I'm going to back tack there. And then I'm going to go to the other pin spot. I'm going to start there. And I'm just going to finish that little seam with a couple of back tacks so it doesn't pull out while I'm putting the ear in. And now the other side. So here I can see where the stitching is that I just did. So I can start right at the same spot that I started last time so that there's no hole in the nose. And then I'm going to ease the rest of that seam in. So now when you look at it and you open it up, you can see the nose in there. And there's my two spots where my ears are going to go. And now I've got to sew that chin. So I'm going to fold it back together again, right sides together. And there's a spot where it was marked as a letter C. So there's a letter C there, and that's where I want to start for my chin. So I'll put a little pin in there. And I'm going to sew from where my nose spots started down around that curve to where that pin is. And I'm going to back tack a little bit. And that's the front of the head. Now to put the ears in, I'm just going to open this up and take a look at it. And when I put my ears in, I fold my ears in half and I stitch across the fold to keep them folded. And then one ear goes in one side, like that. The eye's going to go in front of it. And I can turn it back wrong side out. And now I can finish that seam and enclose that earpiece in there. And now I'll put the other one on the other side. You want to make sure that they're folded to the front, not backwards. You don't want to put the ear in this way. You want to put it in this way, facing you. And again, it just goes in that little spot that you left open. And now you can fold it back so the wrong sides are together and the ear is stuck in the middle of all those layers. And then you can just finish up that seam that we left open. So that's the front of the head, ready to go. Now we're going to sew the back of the head together. So I'm just going to put that aside, and let's look at the back. So looking at the back of the head, I can see that my dots are going to match nicely. So I'm not even going to mark them. I just know that they're going to match. So I'll take that piece off, and I'm going to take this piece off. And these two are going to go right sides together with the center back. I'm going to start from the neck, and I'm going to stitch up, and I'm going to make this curve match this straight seam. Hold that on there with a pin. And then this one is going to do the same thing on the other side, and the curve is going to match that straight seam on that side. So I'm just going to use my 1/4 inch foot as a guide, and I'm going to gently ease it down that curve, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm using the edge of my foot as a guide. And I'm going with a sort of a small stitch because I want to go around this curve and I want it to be nice and smooth. And I'm not stretching it. I'm just kind of placing it as I go, making the curve match that straight seam. It's going to be a little extra. And then I'm going to do the other side. And this time I've got the straight side on the top, so I've got to watch for the curve underneath. And I'm just making my straight edge match that curve. And that's the back. So when you open it up, it's got a little bit of a curve, and you can see the straight neck edge. And then I can take my front, and we want them right sides together, so we're going to keep the ears towards the inside here. And we're going to take this one right sides together, and we can match the two seams above the ears, and we can match it all the way down to the end of the head, and we're going to stitch all the way around that. So I'm going to pin it and then I'll stitch it. So I've got the head front pinned to the head back, and the ears are just sticking out from inside. And now I'm going to sew all the way around that edge. And when I pull the ears right out of the head, it pulls the whole thing right side out. And now the ears are enclosed in there nicely. And when I stuff this head, I'll be able to sew the eyes on. I can either embroider them on or sew buttons or beads. So that's how you make the head. Now I'll show you how to put it on the body. So I sewed the two body sides together on that one seam up the front. And then I opened it up and I sewed the body back all the way around to the two sides. And now I'm going to leave it inside out like this, and I'm going to stuff the head into the body. The head is right side out and the body is inside out. And the ears are going to go into the body and out the hole that I left in the side. Did I not leave? There it is. And that way it'll be easier when I go to turn the whole thing right side out again. So the ears are going to come through this hole. And now I want to make sure that the front of my head, that seam right underneath the nose, I want to make sure that seam is matched up with the center front seam on my body. So I'm going to put a pin in that. That matches. And now I want to take the rest of the head and I want to match the two side seams. There's one side. And these can be nesting seams, so you can push one seam in one direction and one in the other, so that they'll sit nicely together. And pin that. And then this other one is the other side seam. And I'm going to make sure that's nesting. One's pushed one way, one's pushed the other. And it gets a pin. And then the rest of it, we've just got to ease it in around the neck. And I'm going to sew on this so that I'm sewing on the inside of this seam from inside the body. So I'm just going to get that under my foot, and I'm going to work on a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm just going to go really slow around the inside of the neck, and I'm going to keep the edge of the neck, the raw edge, even with the edge of the foot. And you can see it fits perfectly because the pattern was created to fit. And I'm just going to keep rolling it as I go. And now it'll pull right out of the body hole that we have here. The whole body turns right side out, and the head, and we can stuff it through this hole with the polyester fiber fill. And the last step is putting the legs and the arms onto the body, but first you have to stuff them and close up the holes. So I'll do that, and I'll come back with another video at another time. So there's my bunny body and head connected to each other and ready to go.